I would like to present some aspects of the political philosophy of Plato and Aristotle. They are two of the most influential ancient Greek philosophers, and their political philosophies have left a lasting impact on Western thought. Both Plato and Aristotle had reservations about the way democracy functioned in their times. They held that wise and virtuous individuals should have a significant role in decision-making. They were critical of the pursuit of power and wealth at the expense of justice and happiness under democracy. They were concerned that those with might, rather than righteousness, often held power, which could lead to tyranny. In democratic systems, great orators could sway public opinion by speaking to please the citizens. This emphasis on oratory could sideline the importance of virtue in leadership and governance, potentially leading to mob rule and irrational, sentimental decision-making. Plato and Aristotle recognized that morally upright and well-informed individuals were often in the minority in society. Socrates' tragic fate was a provocation to think against democracy. Socrates was proclaimed as the wisest and just man by the Delphi oracle. Plato, in particular, was deeply affected by the tragic execution of his mentor, Socrates, who was condemned to death by a democratic majority verdict. This event reinforced the idea that rightness and wrongness should not be determined solely by the majority. In place of democracy, Plato and Aristotle advocated for a more meritocratic and aristocratic form of government, where individuals who demonstrated wisdom and virtue would play a significant role in decision-making. Their vision was rooted in the principle that a just and effective state should prioritize the qualities and knowledge of its rulers over popular opinion. While they raised valid concerns about democracy, their ideas have been interpreted and debated over centuries, and modern democratic systems incorporate checks and balances to address some of the issues they highlighted. While both Plato and Aristotle aimed to create just and harmonious city-states, their methodology and focus exhibited significant differences. Plato envisioned an ideal world of forms, where the ideal government and an ideal city-state existed. He aspired to see real Greek city-states and their governments reflect this perfection. His idealism contrasted sharply with Aristotle's empirical approach. Aristotle, in contrast, examined various city-states and their governments of Greece and other neighboring countries. However, a limitation of his empirical analysis was his inclination to accept most existing practices as rationally justifiable and worthy of approval. Consequently, he failed to provide an idealized version or normative guidelines for all governments. Subscribe for other videos. Plato and Aristotle held differing views on the role and status of women. Aristotle adhered to more traditional gender norms, aligning with the prevailing societal standards of ancient Greece. He believed in a natural hierarchy that placed men as naturally superior to women. Aristotle saw women as less rational and more emotional, assigning them to domestic roles focused on managing households and raising children. He considered men as the intellectual and moral leaders of the family, best equipped for public and political activities, with women expected to be obedient to their husbands. In contrast, Plato advocated for the equal merit and equal opportunity for women citizens, breaking away from the traditional gender roles and hierarchies prevalent in his time, and allowed them to participate in the same roles as men, including those of warriors and rulers. While both Plato and Aristotle acknowledged the existence of social classification, Plato explored this concept more systematically as a necessity for building a perfect city-state closely resembling the city-state in the ideal world. He believed that an occupational division of society enhanced the quality of social functions. Plato's vision was to assign the right individuals to various roles within the city-state. Placing the right person in the right place is an essential requirement for establishing a just society. In contrast, the presence of wrong or unsuitable individuals in any societal position would undermine the integrity of the society. Plato and Aristotle shared the belief that the hierarchy among citizens should be determined by rational ability and other individual merits rather than by birth or family status. Plato claimed that personal ability can be developed through education. Plato advocated for a uniform and universal primary level education system, followed by merit-based selective education at a higher stage to meet the specific needs of the society. Women also had equal opportunity to education. Plato's educational objectives were centered on the holistic development of individuals and equipping them with practical skills. The same are the visions of the education policies even today. Aristotle, on the other hand, saw education primarily as a means to nurture inherent qualities and merits within a person, focusing on the development of individual potential. Both Plato and Aristotle discussed the concept of slavery in their works, reflecting the attitudes and norms of their time. Both of them justified slavery on their belief that different individuals had different levels of natural aptitude and rationality. Plato believed in the necessity of a slave class to maintain harmony and order within the city-state. He accepted that individuals within this class could potentially be elevated through education, especially of their skills. Aristotle, on the other hand, believed that some individuals were naturally suited for a state of slavery due to their perceived incapacity for rational decision-making. He argued that these natural slaves were essentially the property of their masters and justified their existence by asserting that they were essential for the well-being of the master class. Slaves, in Aristotle's view, were seen as instruments necessary to support the lifestyle and freedom of the free citizens. We shall conclude. Plato and Aristotle sought to establish just and harmonious societies. Plato's philosophy was rooted in his metaphysical ideas about the world of forms and emphasized that the city-states should strive to be as perfect as the ideal city-state in the world of forms. Aristotle's philosophy was pragmatic and temporal, while Plato was more of philosophical, proposing standards of an ideal society and strategies for its creation. Aristotle was more of scientific, describing the social norms and values of his time. Thank you.